Well, there they are. I think that the children that are growing up right now may face some of the greatest challenges of any generation since the generation that we refer to as the greatest generation. These kids live in a generation that doesn't even have a label yet. They're younger than millennials, and they better buckle up because it's going to be a rough ride. They're inheriting a world that is predicted to have a human population of 9 billion souls. For those of you who are old enough to remember 1950, there were 3 billion. There are potentially billions of these people who are going to be displaced by rising ocean levels. All while the majority of the wealth, the accumulated wealth of the nations, is now in the hands of really just a few dozen people. They are facing cultural divides. We have a state that has declared a state of emergency due to racial tensions that, honest to God, we thought we'd put behind us. They're going to have to cope with major technology changes every few years. So that the skills they learn will constantly be changing. And in order to even stay employed at a living wage job, continuing constant education is going to be necessary. And seriously, I take a look at my kids, all of our kids, and if there is ever a generation that needs God's blessing, it's this one. Most of our kids are going to be heading back to school this week, and the educators and the parents who have followed a call, it's a holy call in my way of thinking, to equip these kids, they have their hands full. They are charged with equipping a new generation with skills that they will need to learn and even thrive in the increasingly challenging world that's coming. And if there is ever a generation of educators that needs God's blessing, it's this one. Henry Dempsey and his co-pilot Paul Boucher got in their Beechcraft 99 airliner, and they were returning home to Boston after dropping off some passengers at their destination. And Henry heard a rattling noise that was coming back from the passengers compartment. And so they checked, there were no warning lights or anything on, so he went back to check out where the rattling was coming from. And he heard that it was coming from, you can see it's open there, it was coming from that back door. And as he went down and looked at it, the plane hit some turbulence. And the door flew open and Henry was sucked out. His co-pilot and good friend Paul heard it all happen and turned around and saw his friend leave the airplane. He immediately radioed for a Coast Guard recovery at their coordinates. And Paul declared an emergency, and he landed the plane 10 minutes later. Seconds after the plane landed, firefighter Mark Thompson found Henry clinging to the cables. You can see him real closely there, clinging to the cables on that plane. He had held on and survived 200-mile-per-hour winds for 10 minutes, with his head missing hitting the runway by inches when the plane landed. It was the mother of all rough rides. And sometimes all you can do is just hang on. The Apostle Paul wrote that hanging on endurance, enduring is a priority.
We even take pride in our problems because we know that trouble produces endurance. Endurance produces character, and character produces hope. This hope doesn't put us to shame because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things that cannot be changed. There's no way to eliminate risk in life. You can try to minimize it, but the truth is you're going to have problems. The children of this coming generation are in for a rough ride, and there's really just no two ways about it. And they're going to need a sense of resilience to learn to manage their fears. But they are not the first such generation to face fear. If there is any common lesson from the ancient stories of faith, is that many generations have faced tragedy, have faced division that rips apart households and nations, famine, and they have held on. The writer of the book of wisdom that we call James put it this way.
Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may mature and be complete, not lacking anything.
Grant me the courage to change the things that should be changed. There is no question that our kids are facing problems. There is no question that there is hate and injustice, things that should be changed. And honestly, I'm going to speak as an adult and as a parent, and I can't say that my generation or my parents' generation or even younger people, younger adults, really have any claim to credible answers. We're all bound up by gridlock and divisions. What we need our kids to learn is not the answers, but skills in problem solving, working it out for themselves. Because, dear Lord, they have a rough ride coming. I've been thinking a lot about you teachers and parents out there and the challenges of your calling. The technical skills that you teach, which they need, are only good for the blink of an eye. The children that you teach will need to be able to use the resources that they have in any given moment and constantly be able to assimilate and evaluate information and know when it is wise to discard old ways, old skills, even when they're old after 3 years. You have your work cut out for you. And there are those who think that educators can be replaced with updated online educational content, and that teachers become those unseen graders that are behind the scenes working to churn out graded homework. And yes, I have been reading Tom Friedman's book, Thanks for Being Late, and it is scaring me. Thank you very much. But here is the point that he makes, and it's the one that matters. Teaching is more than a transmission of information. What makes children succeed, real human children, Success is knowing that there is someone in your life who cares about you in particular. That in a world with 9 billion other souls, there is someone who loves and values you. There is a presence and a power that when we are afraid, that when our personal resources are exhausted, our minds are full and our bodies are tired, and we don't even know if we can still hang on, there is a presence and a living power that this world needs to hear proclaimed.
Don't you know? Haven't you heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. God doesn't grow tired or weary. God's understanding is beyond human reach, giving power to the tired and reviving the exhausted. Youths will become tired and weary. Young men will certainly stumble. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will fly up on wings like eagles. They will run and not be tired. They will walk and not be weary.
We are not alone. We are not left to face the challenges, the rough ride ahead alone. God has been poured into our hearts by the Holy Spirit, flowing from those who love us. Teachers, parents, grandparents, people of God, you are called to share your love by caring for the children of this world and letting them know that. You may not have all the answers. In fact, I know you don't. I don't. But you can bring hope. You can guide this new generation to persevere, to endure, and maybe even to change those things that should be changed. Because they need that wisdom. They need the wisdom to know when they just need to hold on for dear life and when to be the change that this world needs. And there's a story. It's an old story. It's about a young naval commander who was given the conn of a battleship during a night watch. And as the massive ship plowed through the ocean one night, a light was spotted directly ahead in the darkened distance, and it was coming directly at the ship. The commander radioed, "Alter your course 10 degrees. The reply came, "No, you alter your course 10 degrees. The commander sent a message, "Alter your course, this is a battleship." The reply came quickly, "Alter your course, I am a lighthouse." As the proverb says, prudent people see trouble and hide, get out of the way, while the simple-minded go right to it and get punished. You need to have the wisdom in this life to know when to change course. Our kids need to learn this wisdom. They need to know the wisdom that continues to speak and guide us from our faith. Will you be the one to teach it? Will you be the one to show God's love to children, to communicate these ancient values and wisdom to a new generation? And when you are at your wit's end, on those days when you just don't know if you can hang on, or seriously, maybe you think if you're a teacher, a career change might be in order, will you just hang on? will you trust that there is a holy power that is behind your calling, that gives power to the tired and revives the exhausted?